Hey, welcome to a race analysis. This one's another different one. This is a Zwift race. This is the AusCycling National Club's ESports series, and this is really my first Zwift race that I've actually, had hoped to get some sort of result for. Unfortunately, there were a few technical issues with this, and they had to disregard the results. But as you'll see, probably didn't make much of a difference anyway. All the grades came together at once, just there, and that meant that my B grade race started out at the pace with all the A graders in the pack as well. Unfortunately, I didn't get my recording quite right, and so for some reason or other, we're only looking at sort of the top left 2/3 of my screen. But I think you get the idea of pretty much what's going on. This race is on the Downtown Titans course, which has two categorised climbs on it, but quite a bit of climbing leading up to the first sort of real climb. And my goal for today is to stay in the pack as long as possible and hopefully win a sprint from whatever group I'm in at the end. I'm racing for Port Adelaide today. You can see I'm in my black and white kit. We're about 50 seconds into the race and I'm already at 173 beats a minute and sweating like a whatever. Fortunately for me, after that first little surge, things sort of settle down to, well, threshold. But as I said before, there's quite a bit of climbing before you even get to the big climbs, and so I'm having to do a lot of work just to stay with the pack. You can see I've got my headphones in. I'm chatting to my team on Discord. I didn't record them, so if I'm seeming to be talking to myself, it's because I'm talking to my team. So we're about 5 minutes into the race, and one thing I've noticed is that because this is on trainer difficulty at 100%, all of these little rollers seem to hurt a whole lot more than when you're doing it on 50%, which is what I usually ride around on. And I'm having to change gears up and down a whole lot more frequently than I usually would. Now at this point I've managed to stay with the front group, which remembering is A, B, C and a couple of ridiculously strong D grade riders, but my heart rate's getting close to 180 beats a minute, and I am absolutely cooked already. We haven't even got to the first of the categorised climbs, but already I'm realising that even just sitting in the pack at threshold is not something I'm going to be able to sustain. And sure enough, less than 30 seconds later,
I'm going to have to blow up properly though. I think I need to be a bit more sensible. I can't hold this today.
probably says something about where my fitness is at the moment, that less than 6.5 minutes of surgy work is enough to put me out the back. But by the time we even got to the first climb proper, I was well and truly off the pace from the front group. Anyway, I'm determined not to blow up this time, and so I managed to push a reasonable sort of high tempo sweet spot effort across the top. My PRs for this over the last couple of months are sort of in the 3-minute mark, so nothing speedy. This was actually a lot quicker. This was sub 2 minutes, I think. Oh no, 2:21. So nowhere near the top guys. Someone did it in this race in 1:23, so I lost a minute on that climb alone. But the main thing for me was that I hadn't blown up, I hadn't really gone into the red too much, and I lived to fight on. About 5 minutes later, a group of 6 or 7 riders catches me up on the flat, and we sort of work together for the next couple of Ks, which is handy because it really sucks when you're just sitting out there time trialling by yourself, watching the front group get further and further away. 10 minutes later, the groups sort of swelled a little bit, and we come up to the next climb of the day. Now, after about 12 weeks of doing nothing but base and 2 months off before that while my shoulder rehabbed, my VO2 max is all shot to hell, so I'm just going to stick this in at threshold. When I can get past the first little bit of the climb, stick this in at threshold and just sort of TT my way to the top. And you can see that the group's already disintegrating as soon as we hit the climb, with some of the speedy boys jumping up the front, and more than a few people going straight out the back. So this is about a 2.5 minute climb for someone at my weight and power, and I think I do go over this at around about 310 watts average. 2 minutes into the climb and I've kind of hit my stride. I'm fairly comfortable sitting at 320 odd watts. There's maybe 4 riders ahead of me from the group that I was in, 3 that are close enough and 1 that's miles up the road. But I figured if I can either stay with these and get back on by the time I hit the bottom of the descent on the other side, or at least be pretty close to them on the other side, hopefully I can stick with some of the stronger riders, sit on them for a bit and pip them at the end. And going through the arch, I'm lucky enough to get an aero speed boost, so I'm going to hold on to this all the way to the end of the race. So rolling over the top of the hill, I keep the power between sort of 200 and 300 watts until I've caught everyone who is in my group. So that whole little group of B graders and C graders, I think mainly C graders, who I was rolling with for the 10Ks leading up to this climb, I've managed to catch up to the front of them. I also wanted to keep the pace high on the way down so that we could drop a few other riders out of that group, because if we can get this down to a smaller bunch, then it's unlikely that people are going to come back, especially if we've got a motivated bunch with only about 6Ks left. Unfortunately, I think there were 7 or 8 riders who did make it across with me, so now it's time to try to recover and see what we can do at the finish. Alright, so coming into the last 1 kilometre, I've been recovering. As you can see, my heartbeat is still at 180 beats a minute. The group, we've picked up a bunch of people, maybe 5 more riders from ahead of us. No one's managed to catch back on from behind. Going over the S's, spiking up to 400 or 500 watts, going up the climbs and then freewheeling down them. One of the advantages of being a bigger rider. There's 3 or 4 riders off the front, but they're all within 1 or 2 seconds of us, and I've done a little bit of work on the front, but not a whole lot. I'm certainly not going to be the one to chase them all down. So 600 metres left. I've still got my aero power up. I can see the finish line coming, and people start launching their power ups, and I decide it's time to hit mine. So hit the speed boost, stand up. I'm not sprinting all out just yet, and then I can see the finish line, and it's time to really go for it. So spiking up, this is everything I've got left. I can put down 1,000 watts on the road, but on the trainer I never really go above 800 watts. I just can't get it through the pedals. Finally managed to overtake the last guy just as we're leading up to the line. I'm wearing out. I see someone coming behind me, but just managed to get there in time. Stumble across the line in like 47th overall. Found out later that everyone I sprinted against in that group was a C grade, so completely pointless. I could have rolled across the line without doing any more effort, and I would have got the same overall placing in B grade, but never mind. Completely spent. Really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to doing the next one. And you can see how much I'm enjoying that. Let's not talk about the puddle under the bike. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.